グローバルコンピテンシーモデリングの授業、第4回目のレクチャーです。今日は前回の授業に引き続きネパールのことについて、ラジャさんとあとはパンカジさんという方、2人お招きして、グローバルコンピテンシーについて皆さんと経済学的な側面から考えていきたいと思います。ラジャ、please.
Thank you. Hello everybody. So first of all, I would like to say Happy New Year 2022 and wish you good health. So please stay safe. And so today we are still going to continue our the lecture that I continued in the last time. So this is the second lecture considering the global competency modeling, comparing between Nepal and Japan. So today, together with me, so most of the lecture will be led by Pankaj Koirala. So I have invited the third year PhD student here today to discuss with you about the global competency modeling. So let's welcome Pankaj Koirala for the lecture. Thank you, Pankaj. Please.
Thank you so much, Raja-san. My name is Pankaj Koirala, as already Raja said. I'm from Nepal. I'm third year PhD student. I would like to first thank Professor Kajpatan for giving me an opportunity to teach this global competency modeling class. My name is written here. If you can notice here, this is my first name and this is my last name. Today, I'm going to teach the global competency modeling lecture 4. In this class, I'm going to explain as you know that each country is always have an objective to have economic growth, and in the last class from the Raja-san, we know that the export is an essential component of the economic progress. So let's compare how Nepal and Japan maybe somewhere, Professor, I feel.
Yeah. So, as just to the earlier, just remember, right? Just try to see the location. So this is a kind of a recap for the previous class. So so the last time I just drawing with my hand, and then that is not that easy for you to understand. So that is why we have created a map here. Okay? So here we have Nepal, and here we have a clear map of Japan, right? So we are going to show the comparison between these two in relation to the export. Okay? So, Pankaj, what do you want to do really today in the class?
So I want to compare the location of two countries between the Nepal and the Japan and how they have a different seaports given the given the locations. I'll explain here how number of the seaports for Nepal and the Japan. How many seaports are there?
So,
I'll compare.
Okay, so for the student, I would like to ask you, okay? So, student, what do you think? How many seaport do you think Nepal has? Definitely, when we look at the Japan, you guys know how many seaport Japan has, right? So, Pankaj, do you know how many seaport Japan has?
Yeah, little bit I know, but I took Google and I find there are hundreds of seaports in Japan, and approximately there are 300 seaports that is used for international trade.
Okay, so in a similar way, how many seaports Nepal has? Can you answer?
So yeah, of course, as you see here, this is the Nepal is situated between the India and Nepal, and it is a landlocked country. Theoretically, Nepal have only 0 ports. However, because of the international road, Nepal can access 2 ports of India, which is Calcutta and Visakhapatnam. Through India, they can access to the internet to have an international trade, and they can export the material.
Yes, sir. Today, Raja and Pankaj trying to explain through the geopolitical difference between Japan and Nepal to export some product or to make international trade. Okay? Seaports are important. However, how many ports? Location の port. How they are different. まあここで言ったのはネパールはゼロ。ランドロックカントリーですから港ないわけです。でも日本って実は港だらけで、例えば国際貿易に使われる港だけでも例えば300あるっていうか、実質上もしかしたら1000とかもっとあるかもしれないわけですね。いろんなものを組み合わせて。でもまあ大体国際貿易に使われるような、まあ港だったらもう100とか1000あるわけ。ところがネパールの場合、国内でもちろん内陸国ですので港はないんですが、国際協定でルール上決められた、ネパールが使用できるはずのポートはインドにある。これが内陸国の非常に辛いところですね。たった2つだけです。しかもその2つの港はインドにあるわけです。カルカッタ、皆さんカルカッタってご存知ですかね。昔私旅した時、日本からカルカッタにダイレクトフライトで行ったことあって、非常にポピュレーションデンシティ is very high. ポピュレーションデンシティ is very high. ビシャガ割り
ビシャカプトゥナ
っていうの、ビシャカプトゥナ。それもう一つのポートね。
More important is the Bay of Bengal. So this is the what we are.
ベイオブベンガル。まあここベンガル海。ベイオブベンガル。What is the Japanese word? ベンガル海。レデ。まあ皆さん知ってる通り、ここ日本海ですね。ここ太平洋ですね。でこれベンガル海ね。でまあ2つしかない。いいですか、この違いでかいですよね。
So, given the explanation and the details about the location and number of ports of each country, Nepal and Japan, how it is linked and how it is associated with the export potential of each country. Today, we are going to explain a bit about it and how it is affected their economic growth through the exports.
Economic progress.
Yeah, economic progress through the exports. As we explained here, so Japan has more than 300, and as Professor explained, there are thousands of seaports,
Including small.
a small one. So they can use, Japan can use these ports for their for the international trade, and they can utilize these seaports for importing and exporting the materials from other countries and to the other countries.
Pankaj,
Yes.
so first we are really going to deal with an export, right?
Yeah.
So Japan has been leading the economics of the export, right? So definitely, I think the undergraduate students, they know, right? Japan, is it a resource-scarce country or resource-rich country?
Based on my knowledge, I think Japan is relatively elite, the resource-scarce country.
Scarce country, right?
Yeah.
So Japan, being a resource-scarce country, of course you guys know, you guys are Japanese, right? Now, what do you think Nepal is? So Nepal is it a resource-rich country or resource-scarce country? So let me ask this question to Pankaj. So Pankaj, so what kind of country is Nepal? Is it resource-rich country or is it resource-scarce country?
So, if we compare with the Japan, Nepal is a resource-rich country because it has several natural resources and agricultural products, aromatic plants, medicinal
You
plants.
can write it down and
So-
then we can understand.
What are resources?
Yes, so
Yeah.
we'll go the research one by one. What kind of resources we have?
The block letter is there.
Calculator nicely. Natural resources such as handicrafts also, right? Handicraft.
But these are the manufacturing sectors. So,
Okay, so now you can write agriculture, like what kind of agriculture products? For
So
example,
agriculture
no, please give some examples of, for examples like tea, coffee. Why don't we give? Write it down slowly. We have time. We don't need to rush. We have 1 hour of lecture. Tea, coffee, wine. Yeah. And then also the wool and this kind of thing, right? Since we have so many resources,
so these are the major resources for Nepal, and of course it is not limited. There are other resources like the forest products and many timbers and non-timber forest, and other maybe there are some other natural resources like the minerals as well. However, these are the main natural resources for Nepal, and this makes Nepal relatively rich compared to Japan.
Japan. Yeah. Okay. So in case of Japan, definitely you guys know that, right? So being such a resource country, right? So Nepal being such a resource country, definitely we should have done so well in the export, no? Because we could manufacture so many goods, right? So could you please explain today what happened? Like what happened in the past with Nepal, with such a resources and with the export? So what kind of things that actually happened in Nepal? So we would like to explain to our students today. So what happened in Nepal having this kind of resources?
Okay, thank you, Radha. As we already know that, sorry. So, as we know that the export is really important for the economic progress. Yeah. So this
For
is-
every country.
Yeah, for each country, and Nepal also try to emphasize to export their natural products and other products to other country and to get some kind of revenue out of it and have a economic progress through the time. However, because of their low number of the seaports and their access to the sea and the barriers from the big country like India, we cannot export several materials that we used to have earlier. And these materials were mainly these natural resources, as well as we have the coffee, tea industries, along with there are some handicrafts.
Man-made carpet.
Man-made carpets, which we used to export to Europe, mainly in Germany in the past. But because of the several barriers from India, like the tariff and non-tariff barriers from India for using their land, we cannot export these continuously through the period of time. And as a result, this kind of industry almost dead now.
So, okay, Pankaj, I want to tell one story. Actually, I want to tell you one story. Okay, so definitely, so we are dealing here is like having all this product. Nepal was really trying to develop its industry in the past. Okay, and understanding the fact that we have only 2 ports compared to the Japan has hundreds of ports, right? So we have this.
At least you guys have had.
Yeah.
We have
But
that.
some of them still exist, but in a very, very tiny, teeny the level. But we had these industries, right? So what happened to this industry? So one of my own relative, he used to own the man-made, the handmade carpet industry. during 1990, so it is almost 30 years before. Then, okay, so because of these kinds of barrier, his industry went bankrupt, and finally he couldn't even live in Nepal, so he migrated out of the Nepal. So such story, this is because I know this story because the person is my relative, okay? So there are thousands of such story. Means what happened? Several industries were killed over the period of time. And please try to understand here why that happened. So these ports, the location of the ports is a very important the factor here. So maybe Professor will explain this story.
Before I explain this,
Okay.
could you please bit elaborate? What kind of detailed intervention made by India to Nepal?
So I'll explain, Professor.
Bit detail.
Yeah.
Example.
Yeah, one example is in the past, Nepal used to sell the plant oil, which is very cheap. That because it is naturally produced in Nepal, and Nepal has a clear comparative advantage in comparison to other countries. But similar products later, India realizes that they can also produce, and because being a large country, they can produce in a large scale. But what they do is they simply put some barriers, tariff barriers, give some taxes on the Nepal's product. That makes Nepal's product little bit expensive in comparison to the products that India produce. That makes a clear disadvantages from Nepal through India. So we cannot sell anymore these plant products, which was naturally.
Don't say plant product. What kind of plant product is it?
It's a plant oil, Professor,
Well,
like a palm oil.
palm oil.
Yes. So this is the plant-based.
Palm abra.
Plant-based oils. So
I see.
yeah.
じゃあ、ほら、let me explain. 例えば、まあ、今、ジャパン、ナチュラルリソースがリッチじゃないっていうことは言ってるね。で、ネパールは実は非常にナチュラルリソースと農業が盛んだったんです。それ以外にも、まあ、製造業とか、ここでハンディクラフト、まあ、手工業とかね、あとはカーペットをこう手で織るっていう手工業が非常に盛んだったんです。で、ネパールはずっと昔、60 years ago も、
Yeah, tentatively.
まあこういうジオグラフィックな、まあ、シチュエーションだったんですけども、やっぱり日本も皆さんがご存知の通り、日本はどうやって経済発展したかっていうと、こういうちっちゃい国だけれども、まあたくさんの港があることによって、実は日本は世界の中でまれで見る、製造業やいろんな産業が、輸出を通してどんどん成長できた数少ない国なんです。その一つの要因として、これだけ恵まれた地理学的な、特に港に依存して非常に自由貿易ができる、輸出できる、自由に輸入できる。で、日本の場合は、まあ、資源を輸入し、それに加工を加えてパナソニックだったりホンダだったりトヨタがエクスポート世界中にバーってしてこの港をフルに使ってで成長してきた。で、ネパールとか他の国も実は日本みたいに、Can I have pen? まあ要は輸出を通して成長することを何て言うかって言ったらエクスポートレッドグロースと言います。エクスポートレッド、エコノミックグロースというわけですが、まあ、要は輸出主導の経済成長を日本は特に1960年代からまあ2000年の間はもうこれでバリバリ経済成長していた。じゃあネパールはその間こういう時間の時にどういうふうにしてたかって言ったら、ネパールだってもちろん頑張ろうとしてました。でも経済的には今日本の方が全然上なわけです。この差はどこから来るのでしょうところですね。そうするとどうなるかって言ったら、まあ要はこういったものが盛んに作られていたんですが、さっき例えばパンカジさんが言ってくれたのは、ネパールがパームオイルで非常に、まあ、ちょっとでも輸出に成功しだすと、実はインドもあれ意外にパーム油って儲かるかもしれないなっつって、実は真似事をしてこちらでも作るようにするわけです。でその時に何をするかっつったら、ネパール通さないとインドを通さないとネパールはパーム油を ネパールで作ったパーマ油を輸出できないわけです。そしたらインドが時々してしまうこととしては、ほんのちょっとだけ交通税をパーマ油を輸出しようとするときにちょっと加えるわけです。で、自分たちのところで作ったものに関しての輸出に関してはそういう税はかけない。そうしたらどうなるかって言ったら、ネパールパーマ油の方がビットエクスペンシブね。
It become
ビットエクスペンシブ。そうしたら世界の消費者はどっち買うかって言ったら、インドのパーマ油買うようになりますよね。みたいな、まあ、例えば例ですけども、そういったような嫌がらせチックなことを、まあこれ分かりますよね。ここパッて線引くけど、How many distance? What is the distance here? Kilo?
So approximately
Very
300,
huge.
yeah, 300,
Yeah, not
more than
the
300 kilometers.
No, 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 definitely more than 300.
Yeah, more than 300
No.
kilometers.
My guess is this might be 1,000 or
Yeah,
more.
that might be
so,
around
yeah.
one that might be around 500.
500. 例えばここだと500キロ。ここから
1,000
1,000.
kilometers.
Maybe more, no? I don't
Yeah,
know.
more.
Something like that. No,
Yeah.
no.
So this distance
No,
between east and the west of Nepal is 1,000 exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I
So
see.
if we
だから
it is more than
1,000.
1,000.
例えばここからここだったら1000キロ、ここからここからだったらまあ500キロぐらいあるわけですけども、まあ想像してみてください。この2つしかポートないんだけど、その2つのポートも外国にあって、これが内陸国の弱さで、いろんな嫌がらせされて、さっき言ったように税金の話、そういったことをやるとどうなったか。 What they say, what you guys say,
Yeah.
what you guys were producing before
Yeah.
for export が
God, almost dead, professor.
Almost.
Almost dead.
Almost dead.
But they are still.
Yeah,
Yes.
like 95%.
皆さん想像つきますか。日本の場合はですね、
95%.
ホンダもトヨタもまだ生き残ってますよね。パナソニックもね、日産も生き残ってますよね。いろんな国がいろんな、まあもちろんマルハニチロとか食品関係でも輸出をしてたくさん儲けてますし、大塚製薬だってポカリスエットなんてインドネシアにたくさん売ってたり、いろんな国でポカリスエット見ますからね。で、日本の場合は輸出でどんどん成長できたところ、同じような時代背景の中にいろんな要因があるものの、主に港を通してネパールはこれらのエクスポートのインダストリーが60年前は存在してたものが今はデッド。これデッド。
Yeah. Not fully dead, professor,
Not
but
fully
almost.
dead, almost dead.
Ninety-
要は
But they are trying to revive as well. But yeah.
90%.
皆さん
Yeah.
ぜひ想像してみてください。日本が同じシチュエーションだったら、要は産業が死んだも同然状態に追い込まれる。ほら、already we yes, alright.
So, Pankaj, so
Yeah.
I think we have nicely explained to our undergrad students, given what
あ、OK、
happened.
ラジャ、sorry。あともう一個。そう、ラジャさんの話をちょっとリキャップすると、カーペットね。ラジャさんの親類で、例えばこれらのインダストリーがデッドって言いましたけど、ラジャさんの例えば親類でポハラ、
So,
まあ、ポハラっていう一つの町でカーペット会社を営んでいた親類街だ。で、最初のうちは非常に儲かってたんだけれども、インディアの何が
so at that time, what happened was India. So, for example, when we are doing the international trade, we need to ship on the tank. So there is a shipment tank, right? So in the border, the truck full of the load of the cargo gets stopped. They kind of give a hassle. Beautiful, like this document, that document, keep stopping it. This is not the tariff now.
ブロッケージ
Blockage.
So it's
or
a
maybe
kind of
クォーター
unreported blockage.
So like unreported, how can I say? It's a kind of easement.
あ
Doing this, then cannot supply the tank. So the guy says, I will not take
they
it.
say we have capacity
Yeah.
not we cannot carry everything
Yeah. And then with such kind of thing, India keeps hassling in the transport time. So which are not known to the outside people.
So I'll tell one important
Non-tariff barrier.
non-tariff
non-tariff area. So I'll tell one important thing as well, Professor. Earlier, this Visakhapatnam was not existed for Nepal. It was not
so
accessible.
it was only Kolkata.
Only Calcutta. Only 5 or 6 years, maybe less than 10 years, we have access now.
I see.
So this is the new portal, that is new port that is given to us for exporting and importing the materials.
はい。
So this is the new port.
今の2人の話によると、このビシャカプタナムには実は5年前から6年前にネパールにオープンになった新しい港で、昔は軽かっただけだった。で、例えばラジャさんの親類でポハラっていう町でカーペット会社を営んでいた人は、最初の頃は非常に儲かってたんだけれども、少しずつそのカーペットインダストリーでこうカーペット、要は皆さん大丸とかどっかデパート行くとペルシャンカーペット、
Yeah, it's a pashmina and the
そう、
this
皆さん知ってますかね、ペル
fine
シ
tuned
ャ絨毯つってこういうぐらいのやつ、もうyou know how much is it? ペルシャカーペット。
Very expensive. Very expensive.
So
皆さん
one
今度ね、手のこう、ペルシャンカーペットはイランとかイランかな、イランだと。イランで手で織られたカーペット、デパート行くと多分高知だったら大丸とか、デパート行って高級ブティック行くとこうペルシャ絨毯あるんだけど、こんくらいのやついくらするか知ってます？ペルシャ絨毯手で織ってる。僕が知ってるのは3ミリオンジャパニーズ円。
So it was expensive. Nepali was also expensive. Only most of this carpet go to the
本当
German.
にこれぐらいのやつが300万とかするんですよ。今度もし本当に疑ってるんだったらそのペルシャ絨毯の値段ネットでも確認してみてください。それと同じように昔手織りのカーペットをネパールで作ってたんだけれども、で会社も儲かってたんだけど、少しずつインドが、このカーペットを大量にこうカルカッタを通じて輸出しようとした時にこれ以上詰めない、キャパシティない、でもオフィシャルには運んでるとレポートしつつ、そういうことの嫌がらせみたいなのがあって、少しずつエクスポートの量が減らされていって、でカーペットインダストリーも潰れてしまい、ラジャさんの親類の会社も潰れてしまい、実際倒産して、今はどうしてるかって言ったら、もうここではネパールでは商売できないって言ってカナダに行ってしまった。Is his family is Canadian?
Yeah, now living in Canada.
ということ。ちょっと想像してみてください。こうやってインダストリーがバタバタ倒れてしまっていったのがネパール。ほら、プリーズ。
So through this comparison, what we can say from here is that the location of one country and another country, and there the number of ports, accessible ports for the importing and exporting materials is very important to have a higher level of export and for the economic progress through export. This is what we can learn from this comparison.
So I think now we clarified, right? So in one hand, Japan has such a comparative advantage and Japan grow through the export-led, Japan mega export-led growth, while industry in Nepal has all been dead. Right? So now we are going to explain you. Now we are in a trouble, right? It's a kind of a pain. So what can we do?
We means Nepal.
Nepal. So because we are
Nepalese
Nepalese people, and I'm a Nepali economist, so we are thinking, what should we do or what Nepal should do? So today, in this lecture, so Pankaj-san will explain us, so what is the potential for Nepal, like what Nepal can do given this kind of barriers. So could you please explain to us
Okay,
what should the strategy that Nepal should take?
So I'll explain. From this lecture, what we realize, what is the clear disadvantages from Nepal to have a export and have a economic progress. One, we find that the number of seaports are not really much for Nepal. So Nepal should not rely on the seaports, maybe because we don't have access to it. So another reason, we have a regular tariff and non-tariff barriers from the economic giant and the political giant, India. Frequently, we need to find some kind of economic factor or the sector that really doesn't rely on the seaports and doesn't face or doesn't experience the barriers from other countries. So what could be the possible economic factor for Nepal? So economists in Nepal tried to figure it out 20 years earlier, and they find tourism is one of the
big letter, sir. This is most important word.
Tourism is one of the economic sectors that Nepal can potentially emphasize over the period of time. Although Nepal have as we already said that Nepal have a very higher level of natural resources like water and the high mountains and other scenic beauties within the Nepal. So Nepal can really capitalize these kind of beauties and promote tourism sector in the future.
Mount Everest, right?
Yeah. So I'll explain you how Nepal can.
Stop.
Yes.
Pankaj, please explain. What is the reason behind why you guys decided to rely on tourism?
So one reason is,
Not only one reason.
yeah, there are several reasons, but what we faced in the last 40 years, means 1962 until 2000, we experienced that export is not viable option for Nepal because of the low level of sea access seaports and the frequent political and the other economic barriers from India. So we need to identify another economic factor because our economic progress really didn't grow over the period of time. We remain slow, our growth remains slow over the period of time. So this is the reason we need to identify other sectors.
Yes, so that's a really nice point that Pankaj has really added here, right? So one option, the export option, is not a viable option, so we cannot do that. So what can we do now? What is it we can do? So definitely,
Can I- sorry. 今日本ラジャさんとパンカジさんが言ってくれたのはネパールはもう過去の経験からいくとエクスポートでこれらのインダストリーをどんどん物理的に運んでトランスポート
Yeah,
エクスポート
we frequently face difficulties.
Due to several reasons, especially economic giant and political giant India どうしてもここ使わないといけないので何かといじめられてしまうっていう過去50年60年の経験でもうネパールの人たちは実質的にいろいろ輸出するのは厳しいと。じゃあ実質的に輸出を諦めた時に何が残ってるかっつったらなぜか Please explain.
so now, right? Tourism. Why tourism? So this is a question that you guys might be having in your mind. Ikinari, why all of a sudden tourism, right? Definitely. When can we have a tourism? To have the tourism, you need to have something that people from the world would like to spend their money to come to your country and see in your country, right? So it's that kind of resources. Now, I think I will ask Pankaj to explain a bit about what kind of such a unique resources Nepal has, and that comes from the unique geography of Nepal, why Nepal could go or think of the tourism sector.
Tourism
Yeah.
is the only industry India cannot block you guys.
Exactly.
Yes, Professor.
これですTourism is the only industry India は China cannot block.
Yeah, most of.
Did
Yeah.
you guys say that?
Yeah, no.
So most of the this is the.
That's most important, no?
This is the important.
No,
part.
like, yeah.
So I say the.
Means that we cannot
no
rely
barrier
on the
can-
India, means it was kind of indirectly said, so.
I am, but directly,
Yeah, yeah,
please,
yeah.
directly say.
So,
ツアリズムは、要は別に物を運ぶわけじゃなくて人が勝手に来てくれるわけだから、人が勝手に来てお金をたくさん使ってくれれば、インドもチャイナもブロックのしようがない。やっぱりツアリズムで観光業で頑張っていこうというふうに今ネパールはなっているそうです。それによってまあエコノミックプログレスをしようと。ほら、リーダー。
So, because a bit summarize a bit of tourism things, uniqueness.
yeah. Okay, guys, I'll explain a little bit about what kind of beauties Nepal have, what kind of the advantage Nepal have for the tourism in comparison to other countries. As Raja said, why other tourists from other country can spend their money in Nepal. I'll a bit explain here. So you can see here what Raja initially told. Nepal have a unique geographical advantage and geographical differences. I mean the topographical diversity and the biodiversity. Because Nepal, if you see here Nepal, this is from west to east and south to north. And if you cut here, and we can have this piece, and this piece is only 200 kilometers from here to here. So this distance is 200 kilometers. If we cut this piece, we can find these geographical differences. You can see here, this is the Tarai region, and this is a hill, and this is a tall mountain where you can, where the high mountains like Mount Everest falls. Mount Everest, which is the highest mountain in the world. So you can see this is the geographical differences. Because of these geographical differences, Nepal have several flowering plants, fronds, more than 800 bird species, butterfly species, and many others. And within, because there is the mountains and snow, there are more than 600 rivers and mountains. This makes Nepal a beautiful or the unique country for the tourism.
Altitude different.
Yeah, altitude difference.
And the water resource bit, hydro potential. No,
So here the topographical differences is from 69 meter to 8,848 meters. The Nepal have a land where this is called Kechana column. This is only 69 meter above sea level. Whereas the Mount Everest lies here.
Right there. That is it. No need to film on that side.
So this is 8,848 meter. The distance between here and there is nearly 200 kilometers only. So within that, Nepal have this altitudinal difference. And what happens if this is this kind of altitudinal difference? What it affects? How it gives the opportunity for Nepal to have a different biodiversity. If you can see here, because of this altitudinal differences, we can have different plants and animals which can have a habitat in a different altitude. In a lower altitude, one kind of animal and plant grows. In a higher altitude, another kind of plants and animal can grow. So this is the unique habitat for Nepal. And many other countries may not have such kind of experience in their area. So if they come to Nepal, they can experience in Nepal.
まあ今彼が説明してくれたのは、ここからここのキロ、ここからここ、つまりここの断面ですね、バンとしたら200キロ。200キロの間に、まあ要は高度ですね。これが69メーターから8,848メーター。で、日本の場合は、まあ富士山が一番高いので、3700いくつか。3776みたいな。で、これに比べるといかにこのネパールがこの狭い中にこのアルティチュードのディファレンスが非常にリッチだということが分かる。で、そうなった時にいろんなシーナリーだったりバイオダイバーシティ、まあ、生物多様性だったりがこの中にギュッと凝縮されていて、まあ、皆さんご存知のマウントエベレストここ、
はい
まあ、皆で、まあ、いろんな、ね、自然を愛する、世界のツアリストが、たくさん来るという状況になっている。ただしツアリズムもやっぱりいろんな投資をしないと、なかなかうまくいかないところがあって、まあほら How tourism get activated by several investment and others. Please explain.
So I'll explain to you.
Probably I don't know. Don't be a travel agency too much.
Okay, I'll not. So to promote the the tourism, Nepal. So I'll little bit explain how Nepal is trying to promote the tourism sector. Nepal used to have only one international airport in the past. That is only located here, this is Kathmandu. But now Nepal is investing to and promoting and trying to develop other infrastructure like international airports, which is very necessary for Nepal.
Where is it?
So now they have three additional
Three?
additional airport they are
In
going to
addition to
develop.
Kathmandu Airport?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Where?
one is in the Lumbini. As you know, the Lumbini is the
Big,
birthplace.
put big dot.
Here, Professor.
No,
Lumbini.
no, no. Three, in total 4, yeah?
So this is one.
This is Kathmandu,
Yeah.
old one.
And another one is the Pokhara. And here is another is the Nisgard. They are going to prepare now.
New
Two
one,
is already almost
please use
prepared.
red.
Okay.
New one, please use red. Okay.
So these are the three international airports. Because as we already explained, to have a easy access for the tourists, they don't need to to come to Nepal. They need to have a direct flight to Nepal. So they need international airport. The earlier we have only one international airport, which is not sufficient for traveling several other countries, tourists and other regular passengers. So Nepal now preparing, considering the flows of the tourists in the future, we are preparing for this destination, international airports.
Everybody is one.
This is the major infrastructure that we are going to develop to promote the tourism sector.
Also, I think they are open for the foreign direct investment for the tourism sector. So, for example, for the adventure sports, so several people
Yeah.
from Australia and the New Zealand, like they are doing this ropeway and this kind of thing. So, opening even for the foreign direct investment and opening these kind of things, asking people because this can really create the employment for the Nepalese people, and at the same time, the know-how will be transferred. So, for example, rafting, these kind of things, we now the Nepalese people they do it by themselves.
I see.
So, this kind of knowledge transfer has been occurred in the several years.
Why you eat it?
No, Professor,
No, fine. If you, Then Kathmandu Airport, blue. Alright. Okay, let me read. まあ今皆さん、聞いたのは今だからもう物理的にいろんなものをガンガン輸出して成長するのは諦めてツアリズムを柱として頑張っていこうというのがネパールの作戦らしい。でカトマンズエアポートっていうのはここにあって、まあこれ一番僕も何回も行ったことありますけれども、今ダイレクトフライトはなくなった日本人
あります。
ある関西エアポート。
成田。
成田。
成田か。
はい。
ほら成田からカトマンズへのダイレクトフライトネパールエア。
ネパール。
ネパールエアあります。ただし僕はネパールに行くときはどうしてるかっつったらJAL のマイレージ稼ぎたいので、インドからインドのデリーでカトマンズに行くかもしくは、香港、キャセイパシフィック使って香港経由でここに行ったしてますでもまあダイレクトフライトまあそれは短いんですけどまあフライトの数は how frequent it is direct flight between Narita Airport and Kathmandu
weekly two only.
だから two flight per week だそうです、っていうふうな感じですねでも、まあ、例えば JAL とかキャセイパシフィックだったらばもっと本数があるかなっていう感じですねでも、まあ、今どういう投資が行われてるかって言ったらこの新しい3つ国際空港を同時に建設中これ気合入ってますよね日本が国際空港を3つ同時にこうオープンしようとしますかしないですよねそのくらい気合あとラジャさんが言うには、海外からの直接投資を受けていろんなこのアウトドアアクティビティができるラフティングとかそういうできるファシリティをどんどんとでOkay, Pohara. Please write down the name of Pohara. This is the most famous tourist place.
Yes, Professor.
Pohara.
So,
Nice block letter. 例えば今、パンカチさんが書いてくれたこのポハラ、ポクハラって書いてポハラですけども、ここなんかは非常に今す すごいいい。沖縄っていう言い方、ちょっと形式が違いますけども、非常にいいホテル、いい食事、いいこう景色と動植物と、あとトレッキングでマウントエベレストの景色を見ながらいろんな楽しいアクティビティができる有名なツアリズムプレイスです。これがフェイマスですね。
はい。
Okay, you can go ahead. I think we start recapping like last 15 minutes.
Now you should go to our wrapping.
I think so. And I need to pose the question to Japanese.
So these are the
again,
other
mountain?
destinations of the mountaineering climbing. And maybe I'll not.
No. Mountain little bit introduce.
Yeah.
例えば
These are the
Mountain that exceed 8,000.
more than 8,000 meters. Above sea.
例えば日本とは違うよね。これパッて見れば、ほら、most of the mountains that they exist
In Nepal.
in Nepal. Yeah, that they exist in Nepal.
So many tourists.
Many
want to climb
mountains that exceed 8,000 or 7,000.
it. There are only 14 mountains in the world which exceed 8,000 meters.
これす
And
ごい
10
ね。
in Nepal.
すごいよね。
Yeah.
あ
This is what makes people.
で
tourists
皆さんあん
come.
まり興味ないかもしれないですけど、登山家からしたらネパールって名前聞くだけでみんなワクワクしますからね。ワクワク。You understand ワクワク So excited. If you are climber who
Yeah.
love mountain,
Yeah.
okay, Japanese climber's name, who is famous in Nepal?
So we frequently remember Junko Tabai.
Did you explain about her in your lecture?
No.
タバイ
Yeah, Tabai.
Are you sure タベじゃなくて
Tabai.
We read in Nepali.
Tabai?
Yeah. But
Tabai.
I don't know the exact
Okay.
spelling, professor.
例えばネパールこれだけたくさんのマウンテンがあるんでどういう風なあれかっつったらネパールで一番有名な日本人も登山家なんです実は。Everybody know 純子食べ
Yeah, because she is the first woman to climb the
で
mountain.
もしかしたら皆さんの中でもご存じ上げてる人もいる純子食べって人がネパールで知らない人がいないぐらいの日本人の有名人でそれはなぜかっつったらマウントエベレストに登ったファーストウォメン
Yeah.
本当、
Okay.
マウントエベレストに
Yeah,
登って
yeah,
た
first woman.
うん、確かにそうだ。この人は有名だ。俺もなんとなく聞いたことある。食べだよ。食べじゃないんだよ。食べだよ。で、とにかく、そういった意味において、ツアリズムで行こうというその気合、戦略というのは、これだけの資源が整ってると分かるわけです。で、前も言いましたよね。私が人生の中で一番神々しい景色を見たのは、ネパールの標高5000メートルから6000メートルのところでラジャーと一緒にこう車に乗って行った時に車でも雲の上に行けるわけですね。で山とかこういった美しい景色が広がるのが下に雲があって一番神々しい本当にこの世のものとは思えない光と雪と空とが全てがこう一つに交わらさった神々しい景色を見たのは本当ネパールでしか無理だな。日本ではちょっと見れないかなと思うわけです。
Okay. So, other than that, people may want to travel and trek, hiking. So there are several places for Nepal in Nepal that
So hiking on.
yeah that people can
and
go from
altitude of
above 4,000
4,000
meters to 6,000 meters.
要するに
You can hike.
例えばもう一つの売りとしては 4000m から 6000m 級の高度を持つところで尾瀬高原とかいくつかの高原で、日本にもトレッキングってあるよね。
Yeah.
それと同じように非常に景色標高が高いところで普通の人がトレッキングできるような国際公園が用意されているそういうルートも用意さ
Right. There are 64 trekking routes in Nepal.
れている。はい。
So this is one of the examples.
All the tourism products.
Yes.
I think a good potential is finish.
Yeah, I think
No,
it's
no,
yeah.
it is time
Not-
to-
No, finished this part.
Huh?
Tourism part is finished,
Okay.
but the next
Last
part.
10 minutes, I suppose.
Yeah,
Right.
please.
Okay.
Raja, carry on.
Yeah, so guys, I think we in this lecture up until now we saw there is a problem with the export, and then now we suggest okay what could be the potential for Nepal for the economic progress, and then we kind of introduce you to tourism and what tourism has been doing in case of Nepal, right? So together with this now So as we also said, the export-led growth that led Japan from 1960 to 2000, Japan has been really accelerating in
Go
the
to the
world.
next
So
slide.
the world economy. So Japan has been leading the second or even the
Now third.
now it is going to the third of the world economy, right? So in these last 20 years, what happened to Japan? So like I've been living in Japan for 10 years, by the way. So it is like my 11th year living in Japan. So even when I came first to Japan, so I wanted to go to the country with a high economic growth to study economics in that country, to understand the country, right? So Japan was the second at the time when I came to Japan to pursue my master's degree. Now it's 11 years I'm living in Japan. So Japan has not been progressing much, the economic growth, right? So it is a kind of stagnation. So Pankaj, so what do you have to tell to our students today regards to this part? So please.
So, as Raja explained, through the export-led growth from 1960 to 2000, Japan's export grew consistently over the period of time. But you can see here, after the red line, there is a sudden fall in the export.
Sudden fall is not really important.
And the growth is stagnant.
Right.
So we can see there is some kind of stagnant in the Japan as well. Although they have some kind of advantage, having higher level, a higher number of seaports, and it's very easy for them to import and export. But what happened after that? After 2000, why Japan cannot grow much? It was growing over the period of time from 1960 until 2000. What happened? This is the question that I would like to pose in front of you. What could be the reason? Please think about it. Why? In my limited knowledge, what I feel probably is
Okay, Pankaj, what
Yes,
do you
sir.
think? Why Japan got stagnated? Export. まあ皆さんご存知の通り、エクスポートもまあ日本はこうやってスタグネートするわけですね。ラスト20 years のところで、まあ今が2022だけども、まあ大体20年前後。で、この原因、日本は何度も言いますが、港はたくさんあって輸出をするものを運ぶ、海外に運ぶ、これはコンパラティブアドバンテージがあることはよく分かったはずです。で、多くの国に比べると恵まれています。ところが、この赤い線を境に約20年間、経済成長もスタグナン、エクスポートもスタグナン。まあ、エクスポートをたくさんすればするほど経済成長はするので、まあ、逆の言い方でエクスポートがちょっとスタグナンとして経済成長もスタグナン。この理由は何ですかって皆さんに聞きます。Before that,
Yeah.
from your standpoint, please guess why Japanese export got stagnant.
so.
Stagnated,
Based on
right?
my limited knowledge, Professor, because I'm from Nepal, I'm not fully knowledgeable. However, based on my knowledge, what I would say, after this period, probably Japan find several competitors where Japan has had the competitive advantage. Like now the competitors grew over the period of time, like the Chinese Taipei or the Taiwan and South Korea and even India now getting their advantage, and maybe they are exceeding their competitive advantage and with Japan. That's how maybe the Japan could not grow much, because the share of the export is taken by those countries.
Okay, that's valid argument. Moino, do you have any other idea why Japanese export got stagnated?
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, Professor. So there might be several reasons behind that one. So what Pankaj say is the one valid reason. I think there are also several other reasons. For instance, the technological advancement or the technological diversity. So this is very dynamic process, which is the worldwide the technology is growing very fast. Like in the Silicon Valley, if you see that how Apple, how the Facebook and the other ICT industries is growing very quickly. In that context, Japan don't grow in Silicon Valley so far. So that technology, what is advancing, Japan need to be the leader, not the follower in this context. For instance, for they are making the electric car. So now Sony is considering to make the electric car. But already Tesla, they are expanding their market very quickly. So they get the main revenue. So the now new customers, they are not really get attracted by the Sony. So Japan need to be the leader, not the follower. That's one reason I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm not going to translate what they say. Please try to listen to what they say very carefully and understand it. And what you argue, Pankaji,
Yeah.
what Moiner argue, very valid. And then let me wrap up something. So for instance, of course, new competitor against Japan appear in the world market. This is one thing. The other things, what Moiner said, industrial structure change over time in the world level. New industry appears around this time, yeah? Japan took the lead? Yes or no? No. Why we couldn't take the lead? During this time, Japan took the lead. Sony, Panasonic, Honda,
Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha.
many
Yeah, so
took
many.
the lead. But behind, I want you to think and write in a report following fact, given what we did as a lectures. Today, we intentionally made lecture on Nepal and Japan, focusing on the number and location of the ports, through which how Japan, Nepal grow or fail.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Nepalese two lecturers admit Nepal didn't succeed
Yeah.
in expanding exports.
Yeah.
But Japan successfully did.
Late. Yeah.
One of the main factor is location, number of
Ports.
ports.
Mm.
Please understand. However, now Nepal trying to overcome that disadvantage,
Yeah.
rather trying to utilize that disadvantage, avoiding any intervention from
Other economic
India.
plans. Yeah.
by promoting
Tourism.
tourism.
Yeah.
まあここから学ぶべきものは今の現状で、まあ、どうやって打開できるかです。まず first thing, please write down what I say. In
Yeah. Yeah.
no, here.
Marker.
No, no,
Write down
Right,
means,
right.
write down means here. You can read this. So today's last 30 minutes report, okay, 課題, okay, is please write and explain why Japanese export got stagnated over the last 20 years. Tell us, write down as much as you can, what is the reason behind. And hints are given by Pankaji and Moino already. However, you are the Japanese. You should be able to argue more than what they argue. They are foreigners. Okay? And second, given what happened here, what Japan should do for economic progress, considering the fact that industry change, comparative advantage that we have, the comparative advantage that we have may
What
change
Japan-
over time as well. Okay?
What Japan should do?
In the future for economic progress.
In the
Should do
in
in
the
the future.
future.
In the
In the
in the
future.
Mm. で、これプラス今日のレクチャーで理解した。Okay. In addition to it, please wrap up what we did in the lectures. Okay? Are you right? Use red pen. Red pen is fine for writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, seems fine. Okay.
まあ 今日の、講義のユニークポイントはここ。まず今日の30分の課題、まずこれやってください。あとはこれプラスサマリーオブトゥデイズレクチャーね。をやってください。では今から30分、これで一応講義動画は終わりにしたいと思いますが、まず、今日の、グローバルコンピテンシーのレクチャーの課題として、まず今日のレクチャーのサマリーした後、じゃあその最後のところで取り扱ったなぜ輸出がこの2000年以降少しずつこうスタグネイトしたのかということについての理由を説明する。で、その自分が考えられるだけ英語で説明して、じゃあ僕は説明してます。じゃあ一つあるのは comparative advantage may not work in the same way as before。 これ重要ですね。まあ日本がコンパラティブアドバンテージだと思ってたものがコンパラティブアドバンテージじゃなくなる時もあって、でネパールの場合は実際にコンパラティブアドバンテージだと思っていたインダストリーが消えちゃったわけです。いろんなその港の理由もあり、じゃあ日本がここから復活するためにはどんな新しいコンパラティブアドバンテージを持てばいいのか、皆さんにぜひ考えて、この2つ目、将来日本の将来新しく何かできるコンパラティブアドバンテージ考えていただいて、このエコノミックプログレスするためには日本が何をするべきか、ぜひ英語で書いてください。Okay, Raja, any final remark to the Japanese underworld? Because
Okay, guys.
this is the last lecture you
Yeah.
made.
So thank you very much. I think you hope you enjoyed the lecture, and then my final words for you is, I think same thing applies to our life. What we think important in the past might not be important in the future. What you think important now might not be important in the future.
Why
So-
you think as comparative advantage
Today.
may change as well?
Change over the period of time. So always try to be ahead. Means you need to find out, how can I say, the real truth, what remains same over the period of time and what changes. So you need to find out these two things even in your life. So saying that, I'd like to say thank you again and bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much for having me and having me to interact with you. And through this lecture, as Raja and Professor said, from this lecture we can draw the message that for any society or the nation or any person, that what we feel as a comparative advantage or granted for now cannot be the same thing in the future. So we need to continuously understand the situation and try to find out our own comparative advantage and the strength, and update ourselves frequently. That is what I want to say. One more time I would like to thank everybody for this lecture. Thank you so much.
じゃあ皆さん、今日はですね、ぜひ私の観点からなぜネパールのこの例を言ったかというとですね、皆さんは生まれてきてから日本の産業が消えたり、したことっていうのはあんまり経験してないですよね。実は、多くの国でですね、あるインダストリーが産業がバッて生まれて実際に成長できなくて滅ぶっていうことはたくさん起こっています。その一例としてネパールを紹介してみた。でネパールの人々は最初のうちはですね、農産物だったり、手工業とかいくつかのところでコンパラティブアドバンテージがあると思って、確かに自分たちでは港はないんだけれども一生懸命輸出を通して成長しようとして、でもそのインダストリー、カーペットを作ったりコーヒー作ったりティーを輸出してた。しかしいろんな、特に港の数がない、そしてロケーションも悪いというところで実際にインダストリーが滅んでしまっている。こういった現状があったわけですね。こういったことを日本は経験していません。で日本はどちらかというとこれまでは、成長一辺倒で来て、で実際に滅んでもないし、実際にちょっと横ばいですよね、エクスポート。じゃあこれから日本はどうなるんだ、ネパールのケースと比較を通してぜひ そういった日本のこれからのコンパラティブアドバンテージ、成長するためにはどうしたらいいのか、ぜひ考えてみてもらいたいなと思います。では皆さん、今日の授業お疲れ様でした。これで、今日の授業終わります。課題をやり終わった後はしっかり写メに撮る、もしくは、ファイルでワードで書いているならばそのファイルもしっかりGmail の所定の課題提出のメールアドレスに送るようにしてください。それでは今日の授業お疲れ様でした。